Greetings, I'm Sophis. You can consider this sort of a follow-up to my custom generic lords video, but this time dedicated specifically for the Chaos Dwarfs. The intention is to make their campaign easier by having generic lords full of useful traits that boost your research, diplomacy, and economy. Getting the generic lords with the traits I'll go over can be a long process, especially for the considered ones. In that regard, I'll recommend the more characters in Recruit Pool and Fast Refresh mod for this stage. It's one of those simpler, non-intrusive mods that make any sort of trait farming easier by giving you a larger pool of lords and heroes to recruit from. Compared to vanilla, where at turn 1 I only had 2 of each type and Lore of Magic, I could select from 3 from each. That made it much easier to have a lot of rank 1 recruits ready to be used for this trait farming endeavor. And that aside, I highly recommend it as a sort of vanilla plus mod to have on regardless. It doesn't really break gameplay balance and makes things more convenient in the overall. From this point in the video onward, I'm assuming you already know how to get those lords or already have them prepared. As far as diplomacy goes, Chaos Dwarfs have one of the most powerful traits. Don't ask me why they, of all factions, cruel as they are, get to befriend everyone at once. I guess everyone grumbles, but at the end of the day, they do need their industrialized goods. There are 4 legendary lords, as of the current patch, that grant diplomatic bonuses with their defeat traits: Grom, Khalida, Demon Prince, Daniel, and Arkan. Out of those, I'd say 3 of them are worthwhile. High Elves and Vampire Counts are 2 threats to Drazoath's early and mid-game campaign. Kislev and Vampire Counts are also neighboring Ostrogoth's starting area. Thus, having lords with these traits that improve relations with them make the campaign easier. Does this mean you have to befriend them? Not necessarily. If you have enough to turn this aversion neutral, that would mean not getting blindsided by war declarations when you are focusing on other enemies. It lets you avoid fighting a war on 2 fronts by delaying the engagement. To get to Khalida, Drazoath has the best starting position. Work your way through Imrik as soon as you're able, then sail down to the Southlands. This is by far the easiest one to farm. For Daniel, you want an Ostrogoth campaign. Instead of going west for the Dwarfs and Kislev or east to take on Grimgor, push northward through the Miners' Skaven faction there, then start going northwest. Daniel should last long enough for you to get to him. As far as Grom goes, Ostrogoth and Drazoath both could make it there, but I prefer Drazoath. There's a route for farming a different set of defeat traits that takes him that way. And crossing through the north of the Badlands is slightly better than getting through the Empire. Once you have all 3 on a lord, that's +5 for every faction, +35 for Vampire Counts, +25 for Kislev, and a +15 relations for High Elves in total. Let's talk research rate. For generic lords with Exiled, you could try and go for Repunse and Ikit Claw in order to boost their research bonus with their defeat traits. But out of all the other lord options, they do give a good bonus on their own. Unlike Considered, Exiled can be found both on the Sorcerer Prophet and the Overseer, so it is far more frequent to run across. My practical tip would be to just save a bunch of them at rank 1, then load and dismiss over time. Their bonus remains so long as they are in your lord pool for the campaign, so think of it as trading some gold for research rate. If you prefer to go all in, Ikit and Repunse are conveniently close to one another on the map. Drazoath is the closest of the 3 start positions. That still means crossing through dwarf territory, past the Badlands, and all the way to the coast of Araby and Telea. The only warning I'll issue is to be careful with manually fighting Ikit. His Doom Rocket may just ruin your day. Try to make it as easy to auto-resolve as you can. Repunse is fairly standard by comparison. Your reward for going for both of them is a total +20% research rate per lord. Depending on how bold you feel when crossing dwarf territory, have at Thorgrim. Not only he'll give you an extra 10%, he'll give these exiled lords a secondary purpose. Coupled with the constructor trait that you get passively from being on regions where structures get built, that can mean as much as 17% off of building costs per lord. Back on the matter of research, if 30% is not good enough for you, load up an Ostrogoth campaign and go all the way northwest, same as you would in order to get Daniel's trait. If Epidemius is still alive, load up the exiled ones from the Drazwath save and have at him. Now you have a lord giving you 40% research rate. With Chaos Dwarf economy, farming traits is simpler. With no supply lines, having solo generals in provinces won't hurt your economy beyond their base upkeep. And in more labor-intensive regions, you'll want a lord around anyway just to boost control. The two best traits for you to get are right in your territory. First, playing as any Chaos Dwarf other than Drazwath, declare war on him and get his trait. It is only active with lords on the campaign map, so factions like Chaos Dwarfs and Bretonnia are the ones who benefit the most from it in the first place. Then right to the east in the mountains of Morn, you want to get Grease's Goldtooth, a boost to tariffs and local building income. Since your lords will always be active and just standing about in your economic provinces, the local building income will do wonders for you. For this sort of lord, I recommend the Selfish trait. Adding a further 5% to the boost both those traits will give your conquered regions, for a total of 13%. Malekith's Defeat trait boosts raiding income, but I do not recommend hunting for his trait. For Chaos Dwarfs, the important part of raiding is the labor income, not the gold. And as far as my testing went, that trait does not grant any increase to that number. Besides, he's very far away from any Chaos Dwarf start anyway. Another tip for farming. Always load up the lords you want to trade farm with as soon as possible. Just have them sitting in the lord's pool for the campaign, not active on the campaign map. Then, when you're about to have a legendary lord you want to farm in a vulnerable position, save. Attack as normal, then get the trait with your first lord. Import him. Then load back to before you attacked. Swap him out for another lord that's in the pool, attack again. Win the battle, import that lord. Then load back. Keep doing this as long as you want. You won't get the benefits on this campaign, but the next campaign you start will have them with the new trait. However, if you're farming multiple defeat traits in a single campaign, you'll just have to set up normally. Leave the faction with a single settlement, then keep attacking whenever their legendary lord returns. Swap out the lords and import them between each return. Otherwise, only the last lord you've used will have that defeat trait. With all these tips and recommendations, I hope you have an easier time setting yourself up with your Chaos Dwarf campaigns. The management of resources may be complex, but it is very satisfying to see working properly. And all these traits work like oil to make sure the machine is running fast and smooth. That's all I have for you today. Until the next one, and I hope you're having a good day.